After my 2 summers, an academic year came up and I returned back to Butler University. My beloved family stayed at our farmstead raising baby goats. My wife, Joan, suggested I join an Asian meditation group dedicated to the study and application of service to people in need. I served as a counselor in a maximum security prison. Together with my meditation group, we invited 25 blind students from the state blind school. This is a wonderful time to get together. We sang several songs, and the blind students even returned the favor with their songs as well. While teaching at Butler University, several of my students met up with me to go spelunking in Buckner's Cave, which is a dry, dusty, 500-foot belly crawl leading to an open cave chamber, Salamander Cave, where we had to duck walk through neck-high water over 400 feet toward the end of the cave, and also Blue Springs Cave that we explored for many, many miles, sometimes taking almost 24 hours being inside the cave. I had a bad experience in that same cave where I lost my footing near the top of a large mound of slippery mud and jagged rock. I slid on my back all the way down into the Lost Creek below and lay there for over 15 minutes. I had about a 10-inch bruise all over my backside. The next several years, our dairy goat show herd won many state championships. At one fair, the Illinois State Fair, I spent time talking to Jane Fonda and her husband Tom Hayden for several hours. I also had the opportunity to address the National Dairy Goat Convention. Finally, our finances were stabilized. Our 3 young daughters were all homeschooled. The entire family went out to the barn for a 3-hour morning chore period and a night chore period from 9 until midnight. It was kind of family style, sort of Amish style. One of the interesting things living in the Wisconsin outback is we didn't have any neighbors. But occasionally one of our ponies would get lost and we'd have to go pick it up in our red VW van, Alice's Restaurant style. Put the pony right there in the old van and its head rested between the passenger and the driver. Our 4th daughter, Sarah, was born at home. We used a gentle countercultural method called the boyer. This method used tepid 94-degree sterile water immediately after the birth. Soft light and soft sounds were part of the spiritual event. Sarah crowned, then slid out with very little sound. Joan said loudly, "Please get the other foot out now." And Sarah unfolded her little arms and seemed to just coo. Joan had had prenatal checkups, so we expected no difficulty. Eventually, Joan and I were worried about our children drifting behind in their homeschooling education. We found out that Harmony School was starting a new alternative school in Bloomington, Indiana. Our 3 daughters could actually go to that new school. Looking ahead to moving such a large number of assorted animals helped us understand the labors of Noah's family trying to load the ark. We had purchased a new home near Bean Blossom, very close to the Bean Blossom Creek. A large cliff, the geological boundary of the Norman Upland, was nearby. There was a historic covered bridge over Bean Blossom Creek not far away. The roof protected the wooden materials from dampness, and also horses would not feel the trauma as they crossed the open flowing water. We were now living close to the village of Bean Blossom. This would reconnect me with Bill Monroe. I talked to Bill and his brother Birch many times. When it came time to make the final move, we used our school bus called Bluebell. It's a regular size vintage 1958 school bus. We loaded rabbit cages, hens, cats, dogs, even our pet toads, and our herd of dairy goats. This odd allotment of animals was really, really strange. We put 8 heavy wire panels on top of the bus. These panels measured 16 foot by 5 foot. All set, we pulled out of our hard-packed sand driveway and into the future. The trip went really, really well until we got down to the Chicago toll road, and suddenly the bus clutch fell to the floor. A long string of cars and trucks were behind us. The bus was loaded with critters of all shapes and sizes. A giant tow truck picked us up 6 feet in the air and towed us backwards to the front yard of a close friend. His yard was about an acre in size and had wonderful shade trees. Slowly we began to realize that we had just descended on our friend with all the glamour of a beached whale, which just appeared from nowhere. We only stayed at Bean Blossom for about a year and began to look at other options. One of the options was to live over at Needmore. The main problem was the ownership of so many animals, but we guaranteed the community there would be really no problem since we would have high fences. They found us a house. The house cost us a whopping $10 a month. Settling into Brown County was a fantastic situation with Doc Brester being our veterinarian, Dr. Tim Allward, he was my friendly doctor. One of the treats of his appointments was talking about the lyrics of Bob Dylan. One time I asked Tim about my gut that was really bothering me a great deal, and the problem was drinking filtered rainwater. Dr. Allward got up and spent about 5 minutes, some sort of strange dance, showing me how to turn on a faucet and get real water instead. Carl Brummett up there in Bean Blossom, he had a towing business, and he helped me one night about midnight steal a mobile home from the middle of a forest in order to help a person that was homeless. Those are the kind of folks that we had here in good old Brown County. The social life at Needmore included numerous musical jams, sometimes a concert using the well-built stage overlooking a 4-acre mowed meadow. Skinny dipping at the Needmore Lake was one of my very favorite experiences. While living at Needmore, I was asked to creatively design several buildings behind what was called Grasshopper Flats, now known as the Sweetwater Gallery, in the tourist town of Nashville. I was limited by square pods, so I insisted on my signature pyramid roof design with glass skylights. We built huge doors with stained glass and brass features. These are beautiful buildings, and I was very proud to be part of that. For about a year, I was employed at Northwood Institute, located in the 1902 historic 200-foot dome building at West Baden Springs, as assistant director of admissions. The school's best training program was the field of culinary arts. The biggest mistake I made while working at Northwood was to recruit several young students from the state-run Job Corps facility near Columbus, Indiana. These Job Corps youngsters were from disadvantaged homes, and we knew it eventually that they wouldn't fit in with Northwood at all. At the same time, I was hired to teach some geography classes at IUPUI Indianapolis and IUPUI Columbus every school term and also the summers. I taught classes in weather and man, physical geography, human geography, North America, and also the geography of Indiana. After about living 3 years in the Valley House at Needmore, we moved within the community to Doveville Lane, or the Lake Road, to a 1.5-story handmade home. The property also had a 28-foot geodesic dome. We hauled water from a tap about a half mile away for our animals. We needed 75 gallons every single day. We learned to live without power, using Aladdin lanterns, burning pure mineral spirits pumped from a 55-gallon drum. We heated only with firewood. The Yodel stoves that we bought were really fantastic. Inside the Yodel stove, we had a steel lid. Put a pan of rabbit, goat, or poultry meat onto the lid inside the stove and cooked it to a golden bronze. We also bought an insulated wooden ice box that held a block. We could purchase blocks of ice at any time of the year from Helmsburg. The kind of life we had off the grid was very different than the civilized world. In fact, it looked a lot like poverty. Our cost estimate for food was less than $100 a month. It also included 50 pounds of clean racehorse oats that we used for oatmeal. Our children really complained. One of the interesting things was to teach a class called Visiting Planet Earth. 12 to 25 students came for overnight stays. They would be introduced to eating wild plants, also building a cabin right out of the logs from the forest. Each student took turns using a chainsaw. Then it was up the road and milking dairy goats. This is the first time the students had ever milked a goat. We had dinner of rabbit with handmade noodles, fresh tossed salad from our plentiful garden, bread from fresh-baked, milled organic grain, and then a cold glass of raw goat milk, fresh squeezed. Right in the middle of one of these dinners, a funny thing happened. One student came in and said, "There's a chicken in the outhouse." We said, "Oh no, Mary is down in the outhouse hole." The student said, "She's way, way down in the outhouse hole in the poop." Oh my goodness. I ran out with a hoe and got Mary up and out of the outhouse, and she ruffled her feathers and smell and all went back to the forest.